have to pay to gain access to your country, not through witchcraft. And pay 70-something thousand naira for not being fully vaccinated. Hey loves, welcome back to the channel. What to expect at the airport if you are leaving Nigeria. With the trend of relocations right now, it has become something that is very important that we talk about. With the current situation of the world, with the whole pandemic and monkeypox and all that, there are a lot of rules that will be coming up and going off. So, and recently in the last few months, I've been on the road frequently, so I'm going to share some information or some experiences that I've had at the airport, should in case you are traveling, you know what to expect if you're coming into the country, right? If you're coming into Nigeria through the airport, not through witchcraft. If you're coming into Nigeria through the international airports, there are things you should expect. Firstly, there might be forms that will be given to you in the aircraft to fill. If you have filled these forms in the past, you might not be required to fill it. And another time I was coming back from Turkey too, when I got there, they asked me to go and fill the form again. So I don't know what happened, I don't know what changed. Another thing is, if you are not fully vaccinated, it's going to be an issue when you get to Nigeria, because they will ask you to pay like 70-something thousand naira for not getting fully vaccinated. This is my country and they will make money from anything and everything. I saw a man that was literally redirected to go and sit somewhere, fill that form and pay 70-something thousand naira for not being fully vaccinated. So if you're vaccinated, try and complete your vaccine. It's free. It's better to do it and have your vaccine card than get to the airport and part with more than $100 every time. It makes no sense. So this is another thing that they will do at the immigration part when you're coming into Nigeria. They're going to ask you if you're fully vaccinated, and if you're not, you will have to pay to gain access to your country. And after making that payment, you also have to go for PCR test, and you have to pay for that too. I think that's like 30-something thousand naira. So it's best to avoid things like this and just get vaccinated, fully vaccinated. Let's talk about leaving Nigeria. Now, if you're leaving Nigeria to any part of the country, there is something that happened to me when I was traveling to Rwanda. I had done my documents and I was ready for everything, my flight ticket and all. And because recently I've not been asked of my PCR test, for the fact I have my vaccine card, I'm good to go. My vaccine card came from Turkey. I did the ADA pass, so that's what I've been using, and I expected that it will work too. But on getting to the airport, I wasn't allowed to board my flight. I asked them their reason. They said I needed to get a PCR test. So I'm like, these rules has all been relaxed. Why do I have to get PCR test? Why is my own different? They said mine is not different. It's just that Rwanda still requires a PCR test. Now, let's get this clear. Rwanda did not require for that. The issue is that this policy was put in there. Now that it has been relaxed, Rwanda hasn't retrieved it. So at the airports, they make you go for PCR test, or they deny you access to your airplane because you've not done your PCR test. And it is not their fault. It is the Rwandan air flights issue, because they've not removed that. So people end up wasting money. I was not allowed to board, and I had to buy a new flight ticket of 200-something thousand naira just for PCR test that I had to also go back and do. 30-something, I think 32,000 naira, then paid for the new flight ticket before I was allowed to travel. On getting to Rwanda, I was not even asked for anything like that. They just wanted to know where I will be staying. That was all. So just make sure that you know the policies of the country that you're going to go to or pass through, because some of them still have their rules up there that they have not retrieved, and it might affect you and cost you money. Some airlines too are very tricky, especially if you're traveling from Nigeria. I remember a friend of mine that had the same issue when she was traveling to Cameroon from North Cyprus. She didn't do her PCR test, and when she got to the airport, they told her that she couldn't fly because she did not do her PCR test. She didn't expect that, but that was the case. Now, what did they do? They told her she will have to change her flight ticket. She didn't have to buy a complete new ticket. All she did was add like $200 extra to get a new ticket. But in my case, they insisted that I have to buy a new ticket. Do you know why? Because they wanted me to get that ticket so that they can cancel that one I had already bought and get the money. It is the Nigerian system. I don't care who I offend, but this is the truth. And it happened with Ethiopian Airlines. They insisted that I have to get a new ticket. And I'm like, okay, so how much am I supposed to pay extra? They said I have to get a new ticket. I knew it was a lie, but they're the ones in front of the computer. They are the ones in the office, and they are the ones that will say what happens. If not, they won't let me board. So I ended up buying a complete new ticket, and I know what they did with that ticket is they canceled it and asked for a refund, which will come to them. So if you're flying from Nigeria, just expect that you're going to be getting scammed, you're going to be treated anyhow by our own people because we are the cause of our problems. Now, another thing you should expect at the airport is that you should not expect that because you've been traveling, then nobody's going to look at your credentials. I remember a man who had issues with his international passport, and I guess he knew, and it's either he knew or I don't know what the issue was actually, but this man wanting to prove that his passport was good to travel with. First of all, let me tell you, those people at the counter and the flight attendants are not the one to tell you if your international passport is damaged or not. Their own is to make sure that you have your visa and you have your flight ticket and you are adhering to the policies of the aircraft and you are good to go. It is left for the immigration to look at your international passport and say it is damaged or not. But this man, they didn't let him check in because they said his passport was bad. It might be true, and maybe it was too obvious, so they had to find it out before he even gets to the immigration. But I mean, this was the case. They told the man he couldn't fly. The man, wanting to prove to them that he has been flying with this international passport without any problems, he brought out his past air tickets, and that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any difference because they are not looking at your past travels. They're looking at the document that you have. So make sure you take care of your international passport, protect it well, because if it gets spoiled, then you will not be able to fly. They won't let you fly, and it will cost you. I remember that same day, and that was the day I was denied access to my flight. At their office in the airport there, I was trying to figure out what to do. Another young man was denied access by the flight attendant. The immigration officers saw his passport. They didn't complain, but the flight attendants were now the ones that said his ticket is not good, so they turned him back. He came back, he was ranting and shouting. They told him there was nothing he could do. First of all, the flight had left, and this was the second time he was rescheduling his flight. The first one, I don't know what happened, he missed his flight. The second one, he had to pay 1 million naira and he still was not allowed to fly. So I just felt like the village people were following that guy because the problem was too much. So he was asked to go to Nasarawa and get a new international passport that he can get in few days. So my advice is make sure that your international passport is good. Make sure it's well protected, and pray when you're going to the airport, because that is where your village people will go and stand and be waiting for what to do to cause problem for you, to either cost you money or to even prevent you from leaving this shithole. Another thing you should expect when you're going to the airport is cold, right? Nigeria is hot. The place you're going to might also be hot, but the airplane might be cold. So don't go wanting to slay and not dress properly. You can show some skin if you want, but also make sure you have a jacket in case you get cold. When I was traveling to North Cyprus for the very first time, I didn't know what to expect, and I didn't have any winter jackets with me. I literally was just running away from Nigeria, so I didn't even prepare for anything. All I had was one big shirt that my uncle gave me. The shirt had like a jean material, so I thought it would be enough. And when I got into the airline, code showed me shege. Code showed me shege. So don't let that happen to you. Prepare for your travel. Make sure you have something that you will use to cover. When it was time for me to get down from the airplane, going to North Cyprus was the very first time I was leaving Nigeria, obviously. So now I had to deal with that cold and with the light jacket that I had now, and I also had a scarf. When it was time to get down from the airplane, immediately I got to the door, I ran back inside. You know why? The cold was too much. The cold just went straight into my scalp. So get a head warmer, especially if you're going to a place that is cold. Make sure you have a head warmer or you have wig. If you made braids, just get ready to cover it in case the cold is too much, because braids means that your scalp is open. But if you have a wig, it means that it is at least covered. You won't catch cold. The cold won't meet you that much. So plan for the cold. Another thing you should plan for is skincare, because during that travel you get dehydrated, because the height of the plane causes dehydration. Make sure you take a lot of water in the airplane, and use the restroom as many times as you want to. Nobody's looking at you. Don't reject anything. Collect wine if you have to. I usually ask for 2-3 bottles of wine. I don't give a I ask for anything I want, so feel free to ask for anything you want. You paid for it. If you're flying with Turkish airline, that I know, if you actually paid to fly through Turkish airline, you have your voucher. You're entitled to a voucher that will give you access to get at least one meal at the airport. So make use of it, especially if you don't have money when you're traveling. You can just get free food with Turkish airline. I don't know about other airlines. I haven't tried it with Egypt Air. I've flown Egypt Air, I've flown Rwandan Air, I've flown Ethiopian Air, Turkish Air. Yeah, and these airlines I didn't experience it, only with Turkish Air. So I don't know if these other airlines do give free food. So but just make inquiries and find out. The weight when you buy tickets, it's usually 23 kg for 2 boxes, but there are some tickets you get, they'll tell you it's only 1 luggage that you can have, and it can be like 23 or 30 kg that you can have. So depending on what you have, always look at your ticket and make sure that you have make sure that you understand the kg you are allowed to fly with, and weigh your stuffs. Don't get to the airport and start unpacking like me. I don't get shame. I can unpack anywhere, but don't be like me. Make sure you have the required kg. Buy a hand scale to check it before you go to the airport, to avoid embarrassment, to avoid delay. Because imagine you get to the airport late and then you have your bag is overweight and they're already closing the gate. What will you do? Will you leave your luggages and run to the aircraft? So make sure you are ready before you go. Another thing you have to do is make sure you are at the airport at least 3 hours, before your boarding time. I usually try to get there at least 4 hours before my boarding time, but make sure I said boarding time, not your flight. So make sure you are there at least 3 hours. Should in case you have any issues, you have enough time to sort them out before you actually fly. Don't go there at last minute. Don't let sleep steal your shine. Okay, thank you so much for watching to this point. If there's something else you want me to make a video on, leave it in the comment section and I will address them and I will make a video. See you in my next video. Ciao.